right now on how dumb political jokes I'm allowed to make over the course of this one. And I'm going to try and keep it to 0.
There he is. We're going to go. If he doesn't win, it's fake news.
There's actually references to his administration in the tutorial for this game, and I greatly appreciate that.
If you play Stellaris, there's actually a system called Covfefe.
Oh.
I colonized it.
All right. So, we are on game number 3 of Group C of our Newcomers tournament. I am NC Game Wizard, and I am here with...
Many copies.
And we are having a free-for-all game between Epics, Mingzhu, Trump, and Balkarn.
So...
Yep.
It looks just to the west of the colony, we've got some very nice combination iron and uranium tiles, which will be very fun to come down as either a robot, hell, even a scientist, any still using faction but elite. I wouldn't throw down an elite on series, and that's because resources diminish unless you're a scavenger.
An expansive HQ has been founded.
Well... Epics disagrees.
And I will not blame him for disagreeing. However, and the other thing you want to note is that if you see these little holes in the ground, those are caves, and those can mine resources adjacent. So also beware of those as you... I
think Epics has 2 things going for him here.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing he has going for him is... As an elite, he can optimize his iron, and if he optimizes it all the way up, he can survive off of 2 lows.
Yes.
The second is that Trump actually found it over here with 2 metal mines on uranium and iron, and that's going to collapse the price of iron. So he could probably get away with just buying steel, or buying iron to make steel, rather.
Well... Instead, he's going to do a black magic and put up 1 tile of steel, 1 tile of iron, and 1 tile of...
The black market is online.
Okay. Black magic tiles do not work because in this game we use economies of scale. And that means adjacent tiles of the same type give a boost. It's 50% for the first adjacent tile, then 25 and 12.5 and so on. So therefore, you will commonly see players of resources you're going to produce a lot of that sell for a lot of money throw down triangles or quadrangles of them because it will act, even though it's only 4 tiles, it's going to act like double that. Or not quite double, but you get the point.
Right.
You're going to get the advantage.
Black magic gets a bad rep for black magic tiles, but I'd point out that most of the time when down a tile that has been named for him, he has a bunch of adjacency and just has 1 tile left and no real good adjacency to get with it, so he just it'd be a glass kiln or whatever. Epics is going with like a quadruple black magic tile strategy where all of his tiles technically qualify.
Yes. The only way there is a way to make single tiles work, and it's with the robot faction, because robots can get adjacency based off of the input resource. So if you have a steel mill next to an iron mine, the steel mill will get adjacency from the iron mine.
Yes. It's probably not the greatest advantage in the world. I've seen times difficulty properly leveraging it, but it is definitely real and it benefits players who want to make those big building blobs.
Yes. Which gives you kind of a little bit of an incentive to blob as a robot, but you can make... It's very useful early on to put out a triangle on HQ1 of a high iron mine with 2 steel mills adjacent to it, and you're going to do better than everyone else.
Yeah.
Who just has 2 steel mills, because you're going to have an extra adjacency. So, you know...
Now, of course... Then you have to look at the scientist who can just put down a triangle of steel mills right at the beginning and not need that iron input. So there's actually some give and take.
Yes.
The best at level 1.
Yes. But the scientist will have other problems on upgrades, such as suddenly going into debt for life support, where if robot can do that...
The scientists will have other problems, which is that players recognize scientists are really powerful and will beat the crap out of you with black market.
Yes. And why are there not pirates going down on this steel that is being shipped? There are both pirates and magnetic storms. I don't care which one you use one of them.
And everybody here would benefit from that steel.
Oh yeah. Steel you don't have to produce. One game, a scientist, it was a 1v1 I had versus... Can't quite remember his name now. Always on the tip of your tongue and then you forget.
Was it Adorfield?
No, it wasn't Adorfield.
Okay.
It was from the last Rahi's Martian Enterprise tournament.
Okay.
My last game in that. And someone was shipping glass. We were both scientists. I threw down a pirate and pirated that glass because, hey, you know what's better than producing your upgrade resource? Stealing it, especially when it was already cheap. So it's glass, so it doesn't get that cheap. And I can upgrade with it. I need it anyway.
Yeah.
And it was...
Later down the line, if you've got a glass stockpile, if you've got 100 of it, that's a third of what you need for an Offworld without getting into the quantifications of it too much.
That game I won on a majority buy, so we never got there.
Yeah.
But... And now...
it's just... Glass will almost always pay off.
Yes. And now, as you will see that we are on series, there are no wind. There's no wind here. There are no geothermal spots here. But you do get nuclear plants. And nuclear plants are wonderful. They produce lots of power. And Trump right now is throwing down 2 more. He's got a quadrangle of them going. One of them is mutiny, but that's okay. It'll come back to him. And power is ridiculous.
Trump is in a little bit of debt. And he'll have to pay that debt before those nuclear power plants are going to pay off for him.
But he'll burn through that debt since they're making $500 a second for him. His debt will melt, and then he just won't have that debt. Not having debt
will be done in a minute.
Yeah. Ooh, a teleportation auction. Ming.
So this is probably what Trump wants to spend all that debt money he just paid off on.
And Ming really wants this because of those remote steel mills. Epics can
probably go about 24,000 easy.
Epics can let this go because Epics can license it later. It's not worth this much debt. It's not worth this much debt.
One thing to consider is, as an elite, if you get a patent and nobody else has it, that's exclusivity, as long as there's no other elites around.
Oh my god, look at Black Magic. Black Magic!
Oh, Jesus. I see it. I see it. I see all of it.
And he's just trying to connect up that to that thing that he has now teleportation to. It's...
Yep.
Covering...
Oh, goodness.
Okay. How businesses start is they take a loan, which means they go into debt.
And this is how businesses die.
By trying to make it so they don't make cash, but cover their interest payments. Basically what he's doing is perpetually trying to just make the interest payment.
Yes. Get into it. Life support costs you debt money. You will automatically buy it, but if you don't have money or you aren't auto-paying debt, which you shouldn't be, it will just show up as debt. And hypothetically, you can go your whole game without ever paying debt.
And
so you shouldn't try to make a tiny amount of everything. You should specialize, but you should also diversify. So you need to be making a decent amount of a select few important things.
And Trump is realizing this because he's at HQ 5 while everyone else is at HQ 3 or less, and finally someone attacked him, that massive blob, but it didn't actually take down all his nukes because RNG of how the thing goes, and he's making power money and power's bottoming. Really,
Trump has the commanding lead in the power economy. By shutting down those nuclear reactors, you might just be making the power situation worse for yourself as far as debt's concerned.
And Trump is the only one going into advanced buildings at this moment.
He's about to make Ceres great again.
Yeah, that's where I was going.
Yeah.
If the Electoral College can be compared to stock, He's also winning because he's bought up his stock and is now attacking Ming, which is the right move because Ming is the only one here who's actually doing well as a challenger, and if he gets Ming as a sub early, that's it. Everyone else is in D debt, can't attack him with the black market, because when you're in D debt, you don't get advantage, you can't really access the black market, so he will just sell.
A note to all of our viewers.
He should sell out of a share of himself. I think Ming might be able to defend here, but complete this buy. Complete this buy.
Whether Ming defends or not here depends on whether he realizes mines are a waste of his time.
Sold.
And that auction went for a criminally low amount.
Yeah, I think at this point everybody sees the writing on the wall, honestly. Also, slight note for our viewers, the Electoral College is absolutely not comparable to the stock buying game of Offworld.
No, it's not at all. Oh, and he picks up Financial Instrument as a patent with 2 players in D debt and not the ones he's attacking. This game is just over. Generally, claims on series tend to be more valuable because the off-world market doesn't tend to get that good. So, yeah.
One thing, make a slight criticism of Trump here is he is running a black magic glass kiln. This is a much more traditional setup to what you'd call a black magic tile.
Yeah.
Where he's got adjacency. Maybe one of his buildings isn't benefiting.
He could take down, considering since power is basically dead, rip down 2 of those nuke reactors and put 2 glass kilns there, and you'd be a lot better off. Well, Trump defended.
1 second. You can keep going. I have a phone call.
Yes, I hear your phone. But yeah, so Trump is not going to get the majority buy, but if he had been a bit more on the stock market, I think he would have had it.
An expansive HQ has been upgraded.
It's now, I don't know, probably finishing the buy rather than trying to go for a majority buy on someone else is the right move now, since both of your opponents are in D debt. Man, that water, since he's got now liquid batteries, which means his
means
solar,
he's making water at night.
Yeah, water at night during a solar flare. So he's making nearly 3K a second from water. He could actually and since he also has liquid batteries, solar panels become a very decent option now. Because, hey, it's free power instead of having to pay water for power.
That's true. That's very true.
And it never turns off. But no one has the money to get up to him, and as soon as you take Ming out, his price is going to jump. He's going to take out his closest competitor.
This is not an auction for drugs.
Oh, and if he can adrenaline boost that water, he'll just be, you know, everything.
He'll be ready to collapse that market and play with life support to his heart's content.
Yep. And
well,
and he can also hit 2 farms. He can hit all solar panels, 2 farms during a solar flare.
so
Game
if
over.
I were Ming Zhu, I would have spent probably literally anything on that adrenaline boost because debt superiority is basically the only thing you're going to have. Power money is not going to be a huge factor anytime soon. And
Okay.
Trump will pay at probably 18,000 plus for it.
Trump is now going into an off-world market. That is a mistake, because that it looks like cash for him. That's part of his cash, and his cash is going to drop when that completes. And the off-world markets are not that good. He would be much better off buying Ming as a sub. Now, Ming is making a good play here by buying someone who's in debt, which boosts your own stock price. You know, what you do in this situation, pick up a cheap sub? Yes.
One thing to point out is it costs Trump a little less in steel than it would cost the scientist the elite. And our expansive Trump here has 600 steel, not accounting for the Offworld that he's already putting up. There is a point when you've got so much of a resource that selling it all would collapse the price and there's no point in making more. So I can kind of see the logic behind let's some of this steel, which isn't going to represent money, into a building that will.
Or you could quite literally turn off all your steel mills because now iron is through the roof.
You can just buy epics and win the game.
I mean, Ming here, if Ming gets away with this basically buying so many subsidiaries and basically just out-earns Trump here, because while there's a 30K launch,
Trump is making money at such a rate that he'd be able to before the subsidiary advantage comes into play.
Probably. And he bought 5 extra claims. So
that's gonna be a factor.
It's still Trump's game to lose, but Ming, with the little bit of life that Trump allowed Ming to have, you'd almost think Ming at this point was Russian based on how Trump is, and not China.
I'm laughing at how not funny that was, just so we're clear. That was a... I have a degree in
international studies and a master's in international law. Oh,
I'm so sorry for you.
Yes, I know acutely what's happening. Oh,
I know acutely a bad political reference when I hear one.
Yeah. Oh.
One thing I would like to see, they got frozen out, but when they're done being frozen, I would like to see Trump take those top 2 chem refineries, switch them into electrolysis, and then just drop his adrenaline boost on some electrolysis, on some chems, on some power. Go crazy with it.
Well, he's gotten completely out of water now, so he needs to buy up a bunch of water in order to make this. He
has 2,000 water stockpiled.
Oh, okay. So mine's
good.
My tournament thing is actually not switching very well between the bases, so I'm actually not able to see very well.
I will be your eyes and ears for Trump.
Yeah. So that when you hear me do these things, so it's like, so me.
Yeah, he's consuming 13 water a second, but he's got 2,000 of it, so he can do this. This is a play you can make if you prepared in advance.
Yep, and he's just making cash. And
got what he needs to buy epics.
Yeah, RNG did not like, or actually no, based on where he placed it, the RNG did not like it. Oh, and he also boosted his Offworld with that, so that's great. The RNG went towards the base and then hit into the Goon Squad.
When you drop a power surge, you don't control where it goes, and that means that it can go in some directions that aren't the most lucrative hit possible. You really want like a nice long line, and you want to drop a power surge right at the end of it.
Yeah, and
that's basically foolproof.
And that's also useful while you put Goon Squads in the middle of lines to break up the power surge ability here.
Or if you really want to be clever, you make a nice long line, put a Goon Squad right at the end of it. Preferably if there aren't spies around.
That's playing bold, and that works once. Putting it in the middle will generally work multiple times.
That's true. That's the reason why in the middle is the pro strat.
Yes. Have half of your production, and yeah, this game is practically over. This is just make series great again. If it disconnects now, we're not restarting. We know what happens.
Yeah.
I'm going to quickly look at charts and graphs. Yep, 5 Trump rival claims, Epics only 1, Ming only 1, Balkran nothing.
One small criticism of Trump is that he should be dropping nukes. Trump should be nuking everyone, anyone. If you stand against him, you get nuked. If you're his ally, he must nuke you.
Trump
He needs to unload the nuclear arsenal.
Trump did the only optimizations which are really advantageous on Ceres, because Ceres generally money on-world is better than off-world. Trump was the only one in off-worlds, and Trump got all the patents except teleportation, which I believe was auctioned. And, you know... So,
he got up ahead of everybody. He picked what his late game strategy was going to be, which was take all the patents and then make all the off-worlds and then get all the optimizations.
Mm-hmm. So
and
let me.
It worked.
Yeah, now that I see the order here, let me go ahead and.
Yes.
Ming.
Doing our job very properly for the first time in roughly 6 practice rounds.
That's the reason we had to do so many times. We needed to practice getting.
This is a hosting newcomers tournament as well.
Yes. All right. And let me now exit out to create a